Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Raha, Hodash. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel that do labor and teach the truth and sincerity. Shalom to all you Akim, you hope for elect on the highway and hedges, making your body a living sacrifice according to Romans 12 and verse 1. Shalom to you sincere believers as well, which consist of men and women. Shalom, Brakatham, and as always, Abba. This is your brother Zakar Alban coming back with another video. This will be going into reward with a crown. So when it says reward with a crown, precepts that come to mind is Revelation 2 and 10, James 1 and 12 that I get in just a sec. That pretty much goes into what? An everlasting life. Okay, so let's start with the book of Proverbs 10 and verse 1, and it reads, the Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. But it says what? A wise son maketh a glad father. This going into a true and faithful servant that is standing stiffly for the names of Yahweh Yahweh Shai in the book of 2nd Esdras 2 and verse 47. Right? So that's a true and faithful servant right here. But a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Someone that's living averse, someone that's in the same spirit as Satan, which pretty much means what? Averse, or being a adversary, right? They have chosen the ways of death instead of life. Proverbs 10 and verse 2, treasures of wickedness profit nothing. Okay, so what is going on right here? They are pretty much sowing wickedness, right? Let's go to the book of Job 4 and verse 8. Job 4 and verse 8 to prove what I just said as far as sowing wickedness instead of sowing righteousness. It says, even as I have seen, right? It says, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. Matter of fact, let's read this in NLT. My experience shows that those who plant trouble and cultivate evil will harvest the same. A breath from Adonai Yahweh destroys them. They vanish in a blast of his anger. All right? Meaning what? They will be put to death. The wages of sin is death. All right? They are continually in the ways of committing, vile and abominable acts. Right? They are in love with this world. When the book says in the book of 1 John 2 and verse 15, love not the world, neither things in this world. Proverbs 10 and verse 2, once again, treasures of wickedness profited nothing, but righteousness delivered it from death. Once again, a true and faithful servant. Them that stood so stiffly for the names of Yahweh Yahweh Shai. And I want to eat off treasures of wickedness profit nothing a tad bit more. This comes to mind in the book of Isaiah 28 and verse 15. Let's start at verse 14. Isaiah 28 and verse 14. I'm gonna tie it all together through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Al-Shad Hakadash. It says, wherefore hear the word of the Yahweh, you scornful men that rule this people, which is in Jerusalem. Right? In LT it says what? You scoffing rules in Jerusalem. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreements. All right? So pretty much they are agreed with living adverse to Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai. They have chosen death instead of what? Life. So anytime you are in love with this world, okay, you are pretty much turning your back on Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai. You are being, once again, Satan or Shaitan, being a adversary. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19 is a point. May want to get a build up. This is Deuteronomy 30 and verse 15. It says what? On the title, on the heading, choose life. It says, see, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil. And that I command thee this day to love the Yahweh, all caps, thy power to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply, and the Yahweh thy power shall bless thee in the land where thou goest to possess it. All right. And really, this is all going to be fulfilled as far as being, ultimately all the way blessed in the kingdom of heaven. Right. Because only for a short time we actually had, a little bit of peace. Right. It said, but if thine heart turn away so that thou would not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, it said, I denounce unto you this day that you shall surely perish, and that you shall not prolong your days upon the land whither thou passest over Jordan to go to possess it. But it says that what perished? The same thing that we just read in the book of Job 4 and verse 8. Right? Them that pretty much sow wickedness, right? Ultimately, they're going to meet their fate, and their fate is what? Death. You're going to perish. You're not going to have, although you were Israelite and you're going to receive the blessings on the second go around, but you're not going to have that same status as them that stood so stiffly for his name, right? You're not going to be recognized as being them that actually denounced this world, right? That, denounce the things of this world, okay? That suffered for the names of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, right? Are people going to have their head down in the kingdom? They're going to be ashamed. All right, but here's the point in the book of Deuteronomy 30 and verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed, meaning what your offspring may live. Okay, but that's the point right there. To what? To choose life or to choose death. So when we go back to the book of Isaiah 28 and verse 19, where it says that made a covenant with death, in hell are we at agreement? Salakia. Isaiah 28 and verse 15, once again, it says, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, in hell are we at agreement. Right. They're pretty much what? Chosen death. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Right? They trusting in what? Something vain. They trusting in a thing of naught. They trusting in the ways of this world, the gods, the false, the false religions and the false gods of this world. And it's all going to be what? To their own downfall, man. So that's pretty much it on that. Let's go back to the book of Proverbs 10. Just grab a few more. That'll be pretty much it. It says, Yahweh will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. It said, Yahweh will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish. Okay? Like I was saying, it's going to be what? A reward. And the reward going to be, as it says, Rev 2 and 10 and James 1 and 12, a crown. And that crown goes into what? Everlasting life. So let's go to here to the book of Isaiah 65. And start at verse 13. And it says, because it said that he will not suffer the soul, the righteous, the soul of the righteous to what? Famish. It says, start at verse 12. Isaiah 65 verse 12. Therefore will I number you to the sword, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I called, you did not answer. All right. And being bowed down to the slaughter, we're going to have a thing called Jacob trouble. Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. All right. And to top it all off, you're going to have missiles being dropped on his place. You're going to have, a lot of our people that's going to get killed in, once again, race wars. Right. It's going to be a World War III. It's going to be very, very bad out here. And to top it all off, you're going to have fire coming from the chariots. So therefore will I number you to the sword, and you shall all bow down to the slaughter. Because when I called, you did not answer. He called by the way of his men, the prophets, on the highway in hedges. You did not answer. So these same people, right, that be scoffing, calling Jake's bombs, saying that, go get a life or whatever they say when we're on the highway in the hedges. you are mocking, the men of the Lord. All right. You are mocking, the Most High. Galatians 6 and verse 7, the Most High is not what? Mocked. So when you mock a man on the highway and the hedges that put his body as a living sacrifice, you're not just laughing at a man, right? You pretty much laughing at what Yahweh Shai has ordained. You did not answer when I spoke. You did not hear, but did evil before mine eyes, and did choose that wherein I delighted not. Here's the point. Therefore, thus said the Yahweh, the Adonai Yahweh, behold, my servants shall eat, but you shall be hungry. So, once again, the servants of Yahweh Shema Shai is going to eat. The same way, Elijah, right? So when we read the scriptures and read our history of how, our forefathers was catching their hell, but the Most High still took care of them, we got to have that We got to have that same hope. As scripture says, we are prisoners of hope. Therefore, thus said Adonai Yahweh, behold, my servant shall eat, but you shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but you shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but you shall be ashamed. As I just quoted, right? You shall be ashamed. Okay? Because I was making a point as far as saying, yes, Israel as a whole eventually is going to all be blessed, but they're not going to be recognized as receiving the salvation, right? As being beamed up in the chariots. That's only for a select few. So when we read scriptures about a reward for crown of life, that's pretty much goes into what? Everlasting life. All right? You was preordained to receive salvation, to be beamed up in the chariots. Not every Jake is, not every Jake is going to have that same memorial, man. All right? So let's drop this and let's drop this. Let's go back to the book of Proverbs, chapter 10. Let's grab a few more. It says, the Yahweh will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked, right? Once again, as I just grabbed, they all going to perish. As I just grabbed in the book of Job 4 and verse 8. All right, they're all going to die. They're all going to perish. Right? Proverbs 10 and verse 6. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covered the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. We understand that the wicked is Esau, Edom, but a lot of our people, as you hear us say all the time, have become just like Esau, Edom, man. They in the same spirit as Cain, Esau. Read John 8 verse 44. It says, the godly are showered with blessings. The words of the wicked conceal violent intentions. We have happy memories of the godly, but the name of a wicked person rots away. Right? Like I was just saying, okay, a lot of our own people are not going to be rewarded with that, salvation as far as what being beamed up in the chariots. Okay? So it says we have happy memories. So let's go to the book of Revelation 2. And matter of fact, before I get that, let's get James 1 and 12. Then I get Revelation 2, and that'll be pretty much it. James chapter 1 and verse 12. And it says, blessed is the man that endured temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Adonai Yahweh have promised to them that love him. Blessed is the man that endured temptation. All right. You gotta what? Endure all things, and you endure all things, and then what? And then you'll be saved. Not like what a lot of these religions, these different Christian denominations like to say. Right? They believe that you just call on JC and automatically you saved, which is all the way left. For when he had tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Adonai Yahweh have promised to them that love him. Right? Let's get Revelation 2 and verse 10. Right? That crown. And there is going to be a literal crown. Just going to the spiritual aspect of it. So Revelation 2 and verse 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Matter of fact, let's start Revelation 2 and verse 9. Right? It says, I know thy works, it's all red lettering, how shall I speaking, and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Rich with what? First and foremost, rich with having this faith, have this knowledge and understanding. Right? This is better than rubies. This is better than diamonds and gold. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews. First and foremost, this is speaking about our own people. All right, jakes that know, jakes that may come in the, jakes may, got some jakes that say what shalom, but ultimately they are what wicked. They are wolves in sheep clothing. All right, these are jakes that may have, some not to the scriptures, but ultimately they are, left field. They are doing things left. So this applies to our own people, and also we use this today as far as those small hats as well. So it's twofold. And are not, but are the synagogues of Satan, meaning what? Averse. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. Meaning what? Everlasting life. You forever is going to have a good name. You forever going to be recognized as standing so stiffly for the names of the Most High. You're going to be recognized as receiving salvation, being up in the chariots. All right. Not every Israelite in the kingdom of heaven is going to have that same memorial. It's going to have that same memory. Right. The scripture says that what, that they're going to be ashamed. So this is Proverbs 10 and verse 7. Once again, it says the memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. Right. So that's pretty much the point there. The memory of just is blessed. Having what? Having a good memory. We have happy memories of the godly. You're going to be recognized once again as being beamed up in the church and receiving salvation from Yahweh Yahawashi. So, that's pretty much the point there. I just had a few things on the mind as far as going into that. I'm in it there, giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Raha, Hudash. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel that do labor, teach the truth and sincerity. Shalom to all you Akim. We hope for elect on the highway and hedges, making your body living sacrifice, according to Romans 12 and verse 1. Shalom to sincere believers as well. Sister men and women. Shalom. Brakatham is always a Bible ball. Shalom.